Good evening, everyone. We'll call this meeting to order. First order of business is roll call. Diana, can you do a roll call, please?
Yes, I can, Your Worship. I can confirm that Chief Administrative Officer Adam Betteridge and I, Acting Clerk Diana Wilson, are in attendance in the Township office. For those participating by video conference, please answer present when your name is called. Mayor Mennel.
Present.
Deputy Mayor Jaguar.
Present.
Councillor Woodner.
Present.
Councillor Moore.
Present.
Councillor Cerna.
Present.
Councillor Lewis.
Present.
Councillor Galinsky.
Present.
Director of Public Works, Matt Sweetland.
Present.
Director of Finance, Bruno Healy.
Present.
Manager of IT, Cecil Coxon.
Present.
Drainage Superintendent, Bob Lopez.
Present.
And that's everyone.
Thanks, Diana. Before I get into the meeting, we had an unfortunate accident last night. One of our firefighters, Drew Newfield, passed away. And I think it's appropriate that we just have a moment of silence and respect for the Newfield family. So if you will follow me just in a moment of silence, please. Thank you all. All right, we'll carry on. Disclosure of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof.
Yeah, I have one if I could.
Mark?
Yeah, item D3, the Tate drain.
Okay, so noted.
Now I have one as well. Resolution 1012, the Tate Drain.
Okay, thank you, Chester. So noted. The minutes from June 3rd. Any errors or omissions? Mover and seconder for those minutes in, please.
I'll move it.
Cerna and Lewis, all in favor?
Councillor Woodner.
Yes.
Councillor Moore.
Yes.
Councillor Cerna.
Yes.
Councillor Lewis.
Yes.
Councillor Galinsky.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Jaguar.
Yes.
Mayor Mennel.
Yes,
That's carried.
thank you. Next, we have a zoning change from large lot agricultural A3 to small lot agriculture A4 and special agriculture A2 zone. Submitted by Alger Farms Limited, agent Kimberly Mulder. Part lot 23, concession 2, geographic township Malahide, known as 51271 Vienna Line. Mover and seconder, public meeting concerning the zoning bylaw amendment application of Alger Farms Limited, agent Kimberly Mulder, relating to property located at lot 23, concession 2, be called to order at 7:34.
I'll
Mover
move
and seconder,
I'll second it.
Galinsky, I didn't catch you moved
Oh,
it.
I'll move it.
Lewis, all in favor?
Councillor Woodner.
Yes.
Councillor Moore.
Yes.
Councillor Cerna.
Yes.
Councillor Lewis.
Yes.
Councillor Galinsky.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Jaguar.
Yes.
Mayor Mennel.
Yes,
That's carried.
thank you. Diana, can you advise and confirm the method and date of the notice, please?
I can, Your Worship. Notice of the meeting was given in the prescribed manner by publication in the Aylmer Express on May 26th and June 2nd. In addition, affected property owners within 120 meters were sent notice by prepaid first class mail posted 20 days prior to the meeting.
Thank you. Adam, can you give us an overview?
Certainly, Your Worship, this application imposes the standard conditions required as per the PPS and the official plan. for a surplus farmhouse severance. The report photo is on tonight's agenda package on page 40. There's nothing further to add to my report unless there's questions from council or those in attendance.
Thank you. Is Kimberly present?
I am,
Oh, is there any further comments?
not from our side.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from council? Seeing none, mover and second of the public meeting related to zoning bylaw amendment application of Alger Farms Limited relating to property located at lot 23, concession 2, be adjourned and council reconvene at 7:35. Mover and seconder,
Move it.
Moore,
I'll second it.
Cerna, all in favor?
Counselor Woodner,
Yes.
Counselor Moore,
Yes.
Counselor Cerna,
Yes.
Counselor Lewis,
Yes.
Counselor Galinsky,
Yes,
Deputy Mayor Jiguer,
Yes.
Mayor Mennel.
Yes,
That's carried.
thank you. And finally, a mover and second of the report number DS 2132 entitled zoning bylaw amendment application, Alger Farms Limited be received. Zoning bylaw amendment application number D14 Z05 2021 of Kimberly Mulder on behalf of Alger Farm Limited, related to property located on North Part Lot 23, concession 2, known as 51271 Vienna Line, be approved for the reasons set out in this report. And that bylaw number 2148, being a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw number 1822 insofar as it relates to property owned by Alger Farms Limited, located at lot 23, concession 2, be given a first, second, third reading, properly signed and sealed. Do we need two motions for that, Diana?
Yes,
Okay. So motion number 1, mover and seconder, please.
I'll move it.
Winder,
second it.
Galinsky, all in favor?
Counselor Woodner,
Yes.
Counselor Moore,
Yes.
Counselor Cerna,
Yes.
Counselor Lewis,
Yes.
Counselor Galinsky,
Yes,
Deputy Mayor Jiguer,
Yes.
Mayor Mennel.
Yes.
That's carried.
And the bylaw number 2148, mover and seconder for that one, please.
Move it.
Moore,
Jiguer.
Jiguer, all in favor?
Counselor Woodner,
Yes.
Counselor Moore,
Yes.
Counselor Cerna,
Yes.
Counselor Lewis,
Yes.
Counselor Galinsky,
yes,
Deputy Mayor Jiguer,
Yes.
Mayor Mennel.
Yes.
That's carried.
Okay. Thank you for attending, Kimberly.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
All right, good night.
Good night.
Next, we have a public meeting. This is regard to changing the zoning from open space to site-specific rural residential zone. Applicant is Elena and Alexa Belay. Part lot 14, concession 7, geographic township of Malahide, known as 49947 Dingle Street. So I need a mover and seconder of public meeting concerning a zoning bylaw amendment application of Elena and Alexander Belaz relating to property located at lot 14, concession 7, be called to order at 7:40. Mover and seconder,
Move it.
Lewis and Jiguer, all in favor?
Counselor Woodner,
Yes.
Counselor Moore,
Yes.
Counselor Cerna,
Yes.
Counselor Lewis,
Yes.
Counselor Galinsky,
yes,
Deputy Mayor Jiguer,
Yes.
Mayor Mennel.
Yes,
That's carried.
thank you. Diana, can you advise and confirm the method and date of notice, please?
I can, your worship. Notice of the meeting was given in the prescribed manner by publication in the Elmer Express on May 26th and June 2nd. In addition, affected property owners within 120 meters were sent a notice by prepaid first-class mail posted 20 days prior to the meeting.
Thank you. And Adam, can you give us an overview, please?
Certainly, your worship. The subject properties within the open space zone of the township zoning bylaw, and that zone is intended to protect natural heritage features such as wooded areas and other environmental features. The property, as we can see on page 59 of tonight's agenda, is in the northerly portion, contains a residence and various accessory structures. And the applicants are proposing to add an addition onto the southeast portion of the existing dwelling. In review of the application, and the Catfish Creek Conservation Authority has also been included with the review. a zoning bylaw will be required in order to remove the northerly portion to a suitable residential zone, in this case, a rural residential zone, to allow for that addition. As I've noted in my report, the official plan does require that environmental impact studies would be required to justify such a zone change. But it's the opinion of staff that this is an existing established residence on this property. The weeping bed is further to the south. There's really no impacts to existing wooded areas or woodlots that's going to occur. And we believe that what's planned for the addition will pose no impact. So a further study or having consultants work in that regard is deemed unnecessary. There's another component for the application, and that is to allow, based on the topography of the lot and the natural heritage features that do exist further south in this property, that a future detached structure, and it certainly could be a structure that's attached, but the applicants are looking at a detached structure be proposed in the front yard. So that will also need relief from the zoning bylaw. And I've drafted a zoning bylaw that will achieve both purposes. Firstly, removing or placing the northerly portion where the house exists into a residential zone, and then allowing a site-specific provision that allows for the establishment of a detached structure in the front yard, which is, council may be aware, is otherwise prohibited. In this case, what the proponents are looking to establish will be in character with the existing dwelling with regards to cladding and finishing. So I have no regards from an aesthetics point of view. And it will certainly also be set back further enough from the road so that it won't be, I've spoken to aesthetics, but snow plows won't be throwing ice or snow and damaging the structure. So from a placement point of view, it's also appropriate. So unless there's any further questions from staff or those in attendance, there's nothing further to add to my report.
Okay, thanks, Adam. Is Elena or Alexander online? We don't think so. Any questions from council on this application? Seeing none, mover and seconder, public meeting relating zoning bylaw amendment application of Elena and Alexander Balaz related to property located at lot 14, concession 7 be adjourned and council reconvene at 7:42. Mover and seconder,
I'll move it.
Serna,
Second it.
Lewis, all in favor?
Counselor Widner,
yes,
Counselor Moore,
Yes.
Counselor Cerna,
Yes.
Counselor Lewis,
Yes.
Counselor Galinsky,
yes,
Deputy Mayor Jiguer,
yes,
Mayor Manel,
Yes,
and that's carried.
thank you. Now I need a mover and seconder report number DS 2128 entitled zoning bylaw amendment application of Elena and Alexander Balaz be received. And then zoning bylaw amendment application number D14 Z06-21 of Elena and Alexander Balaz relating to property located at South Part Lot 14, concession 7, and South Part Lot 87, concession north of Calvert Road, further described as Part what of RP 11R5436, geographic township of Malahide, and known as 49947 Dingle Street be approved for the reasons set out in this report.
I'll move it.
Moved by Lewis, seconded by Jiguer, all in favor?
Counselor Widner,
yes,
Counselor Moore,
Yes.
Counselor Cerna,
Yes.
Counselor Lewis,
Yes.
Counselor Galinsky,
yes,
Deputy Mayor Jiguer,
yes,
Mayor Mennel,
Yes,
that's carried.
thank you. And finally, mover and seconder, bylaw number 2149, being a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw number 1822 insofar as it relates to property owned by Elena and Alexander Balaz, located at lot 14, concession 7, begun a first, second, third reading, properly signed and sealed.
Move it.
Moved by Moore, seconder,
second,
Widner, all in favor?
Counselor Widner,
yes,
Counselor Moore,
Yes.
Counselor Cerna,
Yes.
Counselor Lewis,
Yes.
Counselor Galinsky,
yes,
Deputy Mayor Jiguer,
yes,
Mayor Mennel,
Yes,
that's carried.
thank you. Next, we have a municipal drain, the Tate Drain. Mike, you're online? There he is.
yes, I am.
Thank you, Mike. Can you give the comments of the engineer's report, Mike, please?
Okay, sure. Yep, this report was prepared in accordance with Section 4 of the Drainage Act for a new municipal drain. There were 2 petitions submitted to secure a legal and sufficient outlet for private tiles that had been installed from their farms down to an area just north of Nova Scotia line, which crossed Sawmill Road into a private channel, which head east a short distance into the Tate drain. So we did hold an on-site meeting with the landowners. We came up with some preliminary information. We had an informal meeting to review the preliminary proposals. And what we have here tonight, it would be a recommendation to reconstruct the existing channel on the east side of Sawmill Road to accommodate some significant erosion that's occurring from the road culvert down to the Tate drain. It's a little over 20 meters long, so it's not a long stretch, but there will be some erosion control stone put in place to protect that. We are recommending to incorporate the existing culvert that crosses underneath Sawmill Road, and then also incorporate the private tiles as they cross other lands before they get to the petitioner's lands. So the one tile is from the Underhill property, so we'd be incorporating it across a residential property a short distance from Sawmill Road up to the Underhill property. And for the donor property, we'd be incorporating the pipe as it goes across the residential property plus the Underhill property. We also found that both of these tiles were drained from their natural watershed into a different watershed, which the Tate is not naturally tributary to these areas. So we added some protection through the construction of a weir in the Tate drain to help accommodate the effects of the additional water that's being brought to the Tate drain. So there was some additional work that we had to do to protect the downstream lands. The private and natural water course downstream of Nova Scotia line has quite a bit of grade as it heads down towards the lake. So we needed to do something to protect the increased flows there. So and at that point, I would stop and open up to questions.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Diana, is there anyone submitted any comments in writing?
Through you, your worship, no written comments have been received.
Okay. Any questions from members of council?
Yeah, through you, your worship, Dave.
Go ahead, Scott.
I've got Peter here because his Wi-Fi at home doesn't work. And then he's here, and I believe he was on the agenda to speak, was he?
Yes, that's the next. As soon as council gets finished, then we'll ask anyone on the drain to speak.
Oh, okay, perfect.
Any other questions from council? Seeing none. Mr. Donor, you had a question.
Hello, everybody. I have more than one question. We put a 10-inch tile in because we had lots of water coming from the north side, from Vienna line through that hayfield, south of Vienna line, went to Kenny Jones's bush onto our property. With that 10-inch tile, we protect about 2 kilometer prime farmland, the strip between 20 and 50 feet wide. We also protect a culvert on the Nova Scotia line by the sawmill, who got washed out 3 years ago. That's what we did. When we put the tile in, we got stopped by Mr. Lopez, John van Gorp, and both his sons were here. He approached us rude, inappropriate. He called me a lawbreaker right on the spot. He handed me a bunch of paper and told me to follow the rules. John van Gorp, he had the 50th anniversary. He was shocked. He never had something like that happen to him. He never got stopped tiling a field. Then he showed us that map from the with the watershed divider line, who went across. Could you show that on the internet here, Mr. Lopez?
Just give us your question, Mr. Donner.
Okay.
If you have a question for the engineer, speak it, please.
Okay. And that watershed divider line, I always thought the watershed divider line is made by Mother Nature, not by an engineer. The engineer has the job to find that divider line. And there is a watershed divider line who goes from pretty much from the south side to the north side to Greg Underhill's field. And that's done by Spear & Associates about 20 years ago by that survey. And John van Gogh put shortly after that for Greg Underhill a main drain in, pretty much identical with that watershed divider line.
No, I'm just
How
gonna
can
make,
a watershed divider line who divides water in 2 or more different watersheds also be a collector for a main drain? That's my question here.
So your question to Mr. DeVos is exactly?
How can a watershed divider line be at the same spot than a main drain who usually is in a lower spot and then get the smaller drains get drained into that main drain?
Mike?
Yes, in this case, I would assume that the tile was put in for the Underhill property. It went through the higher ground to be able to go
It's
to the
exactly the
southeast
same
corner.
spot.
Allow him
It's-
to respond, Mr. Please.
Okay.
The tile was taken to the southeast corner of the property because that was the closest place where there was an outlet available for that property to tile to. The northerly portion of that Underhill property does not slope over towards this direction. It does slope to the south and southwest. So in this case, there was area that was not originally tributary to the Tate drain that was tiled over to this northwest corner of the intersection where the culvert is to dump the water into an outlet which would find its way down into the Tate drain. For that reason, it was a private ditch and not a secure outlet, and the requirement would be to make that outlet a secure legal outlet or remove the tile and take that water in a different direction.
You didn't answer my question. My question was how can a watershed divider line be on the same spot than a tile?
Like I said, the tile was installed through the high ground to the southeast corner. Tiles can be installed through higher ground. They don't have to follow the natural route of the land. Both tiles were tiled through from low areas through higher ground down to the southeast corner.
Do you have another question, Mr. Donner?
I'm not satisfied with that answer.
Well,
Let's move on.
Mr. DeVos is an engineer and he's got a lot of experience, so I've got to trust the engineer.
You
Did you have
trust
another
the
question?
engineer. And what about Van Gogh? You don't trust him?
Pardon me?
You don't trust Van Gogh?
Mr. DeVos is a registered engineer.
You don't trust Van Gogh?
I didn't say that. I'm saying that Mr. DeVos gave his opinion and I have to trust his opinion.
And what about Van Gogh's opinion?
He's a tiler. He's not an engineer. You have another question?
We tried to prove to Mr. Lopez that watershed divider is actually not a watershed divider. It's just a phony watershed divider. I was asking Scott Lewis, together with another counselor, for a meeting on site with Lopez and Van Gogh, so we could prove to Lopez that watershed divider line is a phony watershed divider line. Mr. Lopez denied that request. I'm not sure what a public service that is, what the Township of Malahide is providing here. A really poor one.
Mr. Donner, Mr. DeVos has already addressed that. Did you have another question in regard to this drain?
What did he address already? He didn't address that meeting we had tried to have with Bob Lopez. Bob Lopez denied it.
Do you have another question, sir?
Yeah, I have lots of questions. We had a meeting last summer, and I said, I don't want to have a municipal tile, and I don't want to have any financial help from my neighbors. I said that.
Any further questions, sir?
Yeah.
You had a question on a sediment.
You were inquiring about the water from the north coming down the Tate drain, about the erosion. That's what you were inquiring to me about, was the erosion catch that was being put in from the water that you said was not your water contributing.
Yeah,
And that you had to
I come to that meeting. We had a meeting this spring, and I needed okay for from Mr. Lopez to finish tiling that field, but we got stopped. I noticed Mr. Lopez was very nervous, so I didn't want to ask the question right away if we got okay to go ahead. So that's why I didn't ask a whole lot of questions then. After the meeting, he gave us the okay to go ahead and finish tiling that field. I called from God right away.
Carry on, Mr. Bonner.
Yeah. That's why I had no questions on that meeting. And I didn't ask any questions. I didn't want to upset Mr. Lopez, and then he would not let me finish that tiling that land. That's why I did not ask a whole lot of questions. After receiving those papers from the engineer, I called Mr. Lopez about 2 weeks ago, asked him a few questions. He didn't give me any answer. He told me I have to contact the engineer. He doesn't know the answer. What a drainage inspector is that? Then I called Mike. We had a not very pleasant conversation. I think he agrees on that. And now I come actually to that surveying. On the west side of that surveying Mike did towards Vienna line, too bad that you don't have the map. That survey stopped about halfway up in that hayfield on the south side of Vienna line. The general water direction is to the south, and there's a watershed divider line who runs east-west. Where does the water go on the north side?
Mike?
Okay.
Yes, there is a culvert, as far as I know, under Vienna line, and there's a municipal drain that would head east. It's called the Vienna line drain, and there's also a road ditch that heads east as well, and they both head east and outlet into the Tate drain. I did hear a concern with some of the area in the hayfield on the Caswell property, and I had indicated that if there was a concern that the watershed is not shown correctly, that I could meet him out in the field and look at it in the field to verify some of these things in the field if he felt it was necessary, and he decided that he did not want to do that. But the watershed itself in this case does not affect the design because we're dealing with an existing tile that's being incorporated, and it has a limited capacity to what's there now. So the only thing that the watershed would affect would be the assessments applied to the quarter revision. So if Mr. Donor wishes me to come out and look at that with him and verify things in the field, I would be more than willing to do that.
Yes. But why did you do the survey then, if it's not necessary? If you knew already how much water runs through that tile?
We did not know how much water would run to the tile. We did not know the limits of the watershed. At the on-site meeting, you indicated that most of the water was coming from properties upstream of you, both to the west and the north. So that's why we went out in the field and had to determine the tributary area limits, especially up through the Jones property and up into the Caswell and in your bush as well. So it is a quite a flat area in the bush. And if you think that we need to do more investigation up on the Caswell property, again, I can do that. I can spend time up there and look at it if you think that's necessary. If you think the lines that we have shown are incorrect, we can verify them.
Okay, Mr. Donor, we have a busy meeting tonight. Have you got one last question that you wish to ask Mr. DeVos? I know that Councilor Lewis suggested that you had concern over a sediment catch basin.
I also have a concern about that watershed divider line we got stopped by, and that we called a lawbreaker is all of a sudden not there anymore. Why is that?
Mike already said that he's willing to come out and go over the area with you and determine where the watershed is. So let's move on to the catch basin
Catch
or the
basin.
sediment basin.
Sediment trap.
Okay, okay. How much water from those two tiles run to that erosion control?
The two tiles will run to their fullest capacity. They'll run full in a rain event, that exceeds the capacity of the pipe. There still will be surface water from the two farms that head south-southwest, but those tiles will run to their fullest ability, which does deliver water down into the proposed drain to the same capacity as the pipe.
You didn't understand my question. I'm wondering how much water from those two tiles,
Your tiles.
from our tile, Greg Underhill tiles, will run to that erosion control on the east side on the tape drain. How much water?
It'll be to the full capacity of the pipes.
You're not answering my question. I want to know how much water runs to that erosion control from those two tiles on the west
You're saying
side.
into the drain, you're saying, into the proposed drain.
So through your worship, I believe what he's trying to ask is, so the water that's flowing through from his land underneath Sawmill, how much of it can it go through a trap that is to the north of that?
How much water goes through that trap? How much water?
When you're referring to trap, I think you're referring to the weir, the pipes, the dual pipes.
Yeah.
Yes, but they're to the north and their elevation is higher than what the drain is. So how can?
Yes, the reason for that.
Through those two pipes, zero water from us. Why do we have to pay $11,000 for that?
Let him respond.
$11,300. Why?
Let him respond, please. Go ahead, Mike.
Okay, the weir is necessary because the two properties have added more water into this system that did not go in that direction before. We cannot put a flow restrictor into the tape drain branch that we're building because of the limited capacity in it. but we can put one in the main drain that will reduce the amount of flow during a large rain event from the entire watershed, which compensates for the additional water that's coming from the Tate Drain branch. That's the only physical way that you can accomplish what we were trying to do. You can't put it into the Tate Drain itself because there's not enough flow there to be able to reduce it down to the levels that you would need to. But we can put it in the main drain, which will then reduce the overall flow to offset the additional flow coming from the proposed drain.
But still, we only add about 10% of the total water to that Tate Drain. Why do we have to pay 100% of the cost? That's not fair.
The reason for the 100% of the cost is that the other lands are naturally tributary to that system. This water was artificially brought through a crown to an area where the water never came before. So for that reason, it's this new work that would be causing a problem downstream, and this area is the area that has to pay in order to try and reduce the overall flow during the large rain events, not the existing landowners that are naturally tributary to the Tate Drain.
So that's a punishment?
No, it's a compensation. The other alternative, which I discussed at the on-site meeting, would be to take the water and not come in this direction, but head in a south-southwest direction and keep the water in its natural watershed, which would be crossing Nova Scotia line into the Passmore property.
I'm not satisfied with that answer.
Okay, any other questions? Because we are going to move on. It's 5 after 8. We have a long agenda.
Yeah, well, we gotta move on, we can't just keep going.
Yeah, but can I stop the whole project now? And you said I can.
If you're on a meeting with him, he said he's willing to meet with you. So then we'll hold off. We can put it off until you have your meeting with him.
Yeah, then we're all gonna hold off.
Yeah, that's fine.
I have to say that?
Nope, nope. Oh, I think he's done, as long as he's through your worship. I believe from what he's saying is as long as he's willing to talk about the watershed line, then still, he would just like to hold off until he can get clarification on that.
Is that a possibility, Mike?
There are two choices council can make here. You could give it first and second reading and move on to the quarter revision. The watershed line that's in discussion is there's two components to it. The one component is the watershed line in the northerly end of the watershed up near Vienna line as to the exact amount of upstream area that would come into the donor property. And then there's also a dividing line as to what the natural watershed would be that would come towards the Tate Drain. So those are two separate issues. They have different implications to what decision council might make. Council can proceed with first and second reading if we are going to look at the area up at Vienna line, because that only has to do with the assessments, and that could be done prior to the quarter revision. If council wishes to stop and put the project on hold until the lower portion of the watershed is confirmed or established, that would require the consideration meeting to be adjourned and reconvened at a later date.
Okay, there's a lot of unanswered questions.
Can I have another?
I would suggest that we defer any decisions tonight until Mike goes down with Mr. Donor and sorts things out. So I need a motion to defer the report. Moved by Lewis, seconder.
I'll second it.
By Cerna. All in favor? You're muted, Diana.
Sorry. Councillor Widner.
He's
Oh, sorry.
conflict.
Councillor Moore.
Yes.
Councillor Cerna.
Yes.
Councillor Lewis.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Jaguar.
Yes.
Mayor Mennel.
Yes.
That's carried.
Okay. Okay, Mike, you could set up a date with Mr. Donner and go over that.
Yes, I can.
And hopefully we can get this thing moving forward. Thank you, Mr. Donner. Thank you, Mike.
You're welcome. Thanks for the opportunity to speak.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you.
Next we get Chester back and Mark
Yeah, I'm back.
and Chess.
There he is.
Okay, we have the Emergency Services Activity Report. Adam, you're going to deal with it?
Yes, thank you, through you, your worship. Our acting director of fire and emergency services, Don McLean's not able to attend this evening. He has prepared this report. I would suggest that if there are any questions of his report, that they be deferred or directed to Don to respond to for the next meeting.
Okay. Any questions from council on the report? Mover and seconder for the report then, please. Jagger and Lewis, all in favor?
Counselor Widner,
Yes.
Counselor Moore,
Yes.
Counselor Cerna,
Yes.
Counselor Lewis,
Yes.
Counselor Galinsky,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Jagger,
Yes.
Mayor Mannell.
Yes.
That's carried.
Thank you. And Matt, you're dealing with the water line under the highway?
That's correct. Good evening, your worship and council. As you can see in the staff report, the Dollar Carn business located on Highway 3 in Central Elgin is expanding their operation and require an 8-inch service connection to the Elmer area secondary water supply system. So in order to proceed with this connection, the MTO requires the owner, the Elmer area water supply, to enter into agreement relating to the construction on MTO lands, which just outlines the authorized works in accordance with the engineered drawings commissioned by Dollar Carn. It was at the Elmer Area Water Supply Board meeting on June 9th. The board authorized the connection, and accordingly staff recommend the township execute the MTO agreement as the administering municipality on behalf of the Elmer Area Secondary Water Supply Board of Management. And I'd be happy to answer any questions council may have.
Okay, thanks, Matt. Questions for Matt? Seeing none, mover and seconder, report number PW 2129, entitled Agreement with Ministry of Transportation for Water Main Crossing to Dollar Carn Limited, 43841 Talbot Line, Kings Highway number 3 be received. Mayor and acting clerk be authorized to administering municipalities for the Elmer Area Secondary Water Supply System Joint Board of Management to execute the agreement with the Ministry of Transportation for the construction of a water main crossing across Kings Highway to allow for a water service connection to Dollar Carn Limited, 43841 Talbot Line in the municipality of Central Elgin. Mover and seconder. Moved by Lewis, seconder
I'll second it.
Cerna, all in favor?
Counselor Widner,
Yes.
Counselor Moore,
Yes.
Counselor Cerna,
Yes.
Counselor Lewis,
Yes.
Counselor Galinsky, Deputy Mayor Jagger,
Yes.
Mayor Mannell.
Yes,
That's carried.
thank you. And Matt, the next one with the Aqua Service Agreement?
Yes, through you, your worship. As council is aware, the Elmer Area Water Supply System and Port Burwell Water Supply System, along with the Malahide Water System, have been operated under contract with the Ontario Clean Water Agency since 2012, whose contract was extended in 2017 and now expires at the end of 2022. Staff have been very pleased with Aqua's performance and care for operating the township water system in accordance with all water quality guidelines and auditing needs. And accordingly, both the Elmer Area and Port Burwell Area Water Supply Board of Management recommended staff to enter negotiations with Aqua to renew the agreements for a further 5 years. With this, staff are also recommending that Township Council advise Aqua of the intent to negotiate a renewal of the Malahide Water System Operations Agreement for similarly another 5 years. And I can answer any questions council may have.
Okay, thanks, Matt. Questions for Matt on the agreement?
Mayor Manel, I have a question.
Go ahead, Jess.
What's the increase in, that it's going to cost us money-wise, by continuing with Aqua? Is there a percent, just an agreed amount?
Through you, your worship, at this point, that dollar figure isn't known. We're just seeking council's authorization to proceed with negotiations at this time. Under the terms of the current contract, Aqua requires 1 year notification if we chose to not proceed with negotiate with extending their contract. So with this direction, we're just looking to enter into those negotiations, and we'll come back to council with a report identifying any changes to that agreement and what the cost would be.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Jess, this is just the initial response in negotiation. So certainly if it's unreasonable, they'll be coming back to us, and they will be coming back to us regardless of the outcome of the negotiation. Any other questions? Mover and second report number PW 2134 entitled Malahide Water Distribution System, OCWA Operation and Maintenance Service Agreement be received. And the staff of the Township of Malahide be authorized to enter negotiation with the current operating authority, being an Ontario Clean Water Agency, to extend the current term of the existing agreement for a period of 5 years.
I'll move it.
Moved by Glinski, seconder
Second it.
Widner, all in favor.
Counselor Widner,
Yes.
Counselor Moore,
Yes.
Counselor Cerna,
Yes.
Counselor Lewis,
Yes.
Counselor Galinsky, Deputy Mayor Jiguer,
Yes.
Mayor Mennel,
Yes,
that's carried.
thank you. And the same thing in regard to the sewage agreement.
Yes, through your worship, this is similar to the prior report. Aqua operates under a separate agreement for the operation of the township sewer collection system for the Springfield pumping station, the OPC pumping station, and the associated force mains to undertake the various regulatory works required for those systems. And again, staff recommend council advise Aqua of the intent to negotiate a renewal of that contract as well for the operations on that system.
Thanks, Matt. Questions for Matt on the sewage? Mover and second report number PW 2135 entitled Malahide Sewage Collection System Aqua Operation and Maintenance Service be received. Staff of the Township of Malahide be authorized to enter an agreement into negotiations with the current operating authority, being Ontario Clean Water Agency, to extend the current term of existing agreement for a period of 5 years.
Move it. I'll move it.
Serta and Moore, all in favor?
Counselor Widner,
Yes.
Counselor Moore,
Yes.
Counselor Cerna,
Yes.
Counselor Lewis,
Yes.
Counselor Galinsky,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Jiguer,
Yes.
Mayor Mennel,
Yes,
that's carried.
thank you. Arun, you're dealing with the assessment adjustments?
Yes, Your Worship. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of council. This report here is the adjustments which come forward through requests from taxpayers where there are some changes to their property, for particularly the structures, and that is then, it falls under section 357. So once we get confirmation from MPAC, the reassessment results in some refund that is applicable to those taxpayers. In this case, we have a few properties which result in about a refund of 3,400 for the township. That's just the township portion. We do have a budget, and this is within that budget. So at this time, there is no impact as such on the budget. If there are any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Thank you, Arun. Questions for Arun?
Just have one if I could.
Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through to Arun. How many years can a person go back for these reassessments?
That I would have to go back and check what the regulations are, but it depends on when there is a change that the taxpayer identifies with their property. And if that the year of the change is when it would apply.
Okay, because see, we got 2018, so I'm just curious how far a person can go back. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
Any other questions for Arun? Seeing none, mover and seconder, report number FIN 2108, entitled Application for Assessment Adjustments under Section 357 of the Municipal Act 2001 and be received and pursuant to Section 357A and D of the Municipal Act 2001, following the assessment be adjusted. Mover and seconder for that, please.
Move it.
Moved by
Widner.
Linder, seconder,
Second it.
Lewis, all in favor.
Counselor Widner,
Yes.
Counselor Moore,
Yes.
Counselor Cerna,
Yes.
Counselor Lewis,
Yes.
Counselor Galinsky, Deputy Mayor Jager,
Yes.
Mayor Mennel,
Yes,
that's carried.
thank you. Adam, you're dealing with a site plan application?
Yes, so council sitting as the Committee of Adjustment last meeting will recall this development's a fourplex residential building just east of Elmer on Talbot Line. It's for us in front of us this evening for a site plan agreement. I do note in my report that there were a couple outstanding matters and technicalities on the site plan that needed to be addressed. I can report that they have been provided by the applicant, and it's not worth changing the resolution, but the resolution did state that that the mayor and clerk delay signing the agreement until those matters have been satisfied, made appropriate or made changes on the site plan. Those have occurred, so those can proceed. What I also note is that with the minor variance that we considered last week, there is a clause in the Planning Act that requires a council resolution. So I've added that for council's consideration as well. So there's nothing further to add to my report unless there's any questions.
Questions for Adam? Seeing none, there is a recommendation from staff. Mover and seconder, please. Jager and Lewis, all in favor?
Counselor Widner,
Yes.
Counselor Moore,
Yes.
Counselor Cerna,
Yes.
Counselor Lewis,
Yes.
Counselor Galinsky, Deputy Mayor Jager,
Yes.
Mayor Mennel,
Yes,
that's carried.
thank you. Next one I've never had before in my life, but we'll deal with it tonight. Adam, this is on the alcohol production on holidays.
Yeah, so the Liquor Control Board has a requirement that these convenience outlets need to obtain municipal support in order to sell liquor beverages on those certain holidays. So unless there's any questions from council, there's nothing further to add to my report.
Any questions from Adam? If you want to go there on July 1st, you better pass this. Mover and seconder, report number CAO 2109, entitled Municipal Approval for Licensed Retail Stores to Sell Beverage Alcohol on Specific Holidays be received. Council authorized staff to provide a written municipal approval upon request for the selling of beverages, alcohol products on special holidays and in accordance with provincial requirements and regulations.
I'll move it. You know I
Moved by
will.
Sterna. Seconder,
Second it.
Lewis, all in favor?
Counselor Widner,
Yes.
Counselor Moore,
Yes.
Counselor Cerna,
Yes.
Counselor Lewis,
Yes.
Counselor Galinsky,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Jager,
Yes.
Mayor Mennel,
Yes,
that's carried.
thank you. Next, we have reports from outside boards and committees, and we have two from the Long Point, May 5th and May 19th. Any questions or comments? Mover and seconder for those reports, please.
Move it.
Moved by Moore, seconder
Seconded.
Linsky, all in favor?
Counselor Widner,
Yes.
Counselor Moore,
Yes.
Counselor Cerna,
Yes.
Counselor Lewis,
Yes.
Counselor Galinsky, Deputy Mayor Jager,
Yes.
Mayor Mennel,
Yes,
carried.
thank you. Next, we have correspondence. There's 14 items. Anyone wish to make comment? Some of we've already done in the past.
Have a couple if I could.
Go ahead, Mark.
All right, number 3, the town of Fort Erie, Township of Scugog. Resolution requesting the federal government to cease further consideration of eliminating capital gains tax exemptions on primary residences. I don't think that's a great idea. Housing's expensive enough already, and we're just going to be inflating it. But looked at a lot of financial reports; they don't agree with it either. So I think maybe we could support that.
Okay,
And number 4, the Township of Redondo Lakes, resolution urging the province to immediately provide funding sources for municipalities for the ongoing maintenance and preservation and repair of abandoned cemeteries in their care. We've been hit with a few of those. It's a very costly thing, and any help would certainly be great. So
Well, and I expect we're going to get more down the line if we, in the future.
absolutely.
Any other questions, comments? Suggestion, we support 3 and 4 and receive and file the ballots.
We'll move it.
Mover and seconder for that.
Second.
Moore,
I moved it. He'll second it, whatever.
Widner and Moore, all in favor?
Counselor Widner,
Yes.
Counselor Moore,
Yes.
Counselor Cerna,
Yes.
Counselor Lewis,
Yes.
Counselor Galinsky, Deputy Mayor Jiguer,
yes,
Mayor Mennel,
Yes.
that's carried.
Okay, Cecil, are you with us?
I am.
Now, the YouTube that you're going to display?
That's my understanding.
Okay,
It is 10 minutes long, so sit back and enjoy.
all right.
Over the past year, the municipalities in Aylmer, Elgin, and St. Thomas have been working together to develop a shared community safety and well-being plan. The Police Services Act requires that every municipal council prepare and adopt a community safety and well-being plan. The Aylmer, Elgin, St. Thomas plan outlines how we will work together with our community partners to make our communities safer and more inclusive places where all residents can thrive. The plan recognizes that complex risks to safety and well-being cannot be addressed in isolation by any one organization, agency, or sector. The goal of this plan is to achieve greater coordination and collaboration on issues and situations before they escalate. Throughout the planning process, we engaged with residents and community organizations to collect information about their perceptions of community safety and well-being. After extensive consultations with our communities, 5 priority areas for the plan have been identified: education and skills development, housing security, mental health and well-being, public safety, and substance use and addiction. For each of these priority areas, an action table has been identified to lead implementation of strategies and actions in these areas. The action tables will work together through the establishment of an integration table to ensure a collaborative response across all 5 priority areas.
Our first priority area focuses on education and skills development. In Aylmer, Elgin, and St. Thomas, 21.4% of residents 15 and older do not have a high school diploma. We heard that education should support all abilities, be culturally sensitive, support diversity, and anti-discrimination, and that life skills training for jobs, lifelong learning, and ongoing adult education are important. This priority area includes the instruction of children and youth from early learning to post-secondary. It also includes alternative learning and life skills programs. Community feedback received during the planning process emphasized the importance of education as a cornerstone in society, and residents connected education and skills development to employment, economic well-being, health, social skills, and decreased crime. To support work in this area, the Elgin Workforce Development Network will work with its community partners to develop and implement strategies to promote lifelong learning in Aylmer, Elgin, and St. Thomas.
Our second priority area focuses on housing security. In our community, 42% of renters have challenges with housing affordability. We heard that there is a lack of availability of rental housing. that rural areas have limited housing availability, and that there is a need for more housing options in both rural and urban areas. To address these challenges, the Housing and Homelessness Action Table is committed to increasing housing security, stability, and access, and to decreasing and preventing occurrences of chronic and episodic homelessness. Some of our strategies will include increasing the supply of affordable housing, decreasing the centralized housing wait list, decreasing barriers to access housing, and decreasing the length of time a person experiences precarious housing or homelessness. By working together with our neighbors, community partners, and the federal and provincial governments, we are confident that we can increase housing supply and eliminate long-term homelessness in our communities.
Our third priority area focuses on mental health and well-being. In a recent survey, 10% of residents 12 or older reported fair or poor mental health. We heard that mental health supports on the street are limited and that our communities need more available and affordable mental health services. Meet our goal of creating a community where everyone can realize their potential, cope with the normal stresses of life, work productively, and contribute to their community. The Elgin Mental Health and Addiction Network will focus on increasing equitable access to mental health services and enhancing people's wellness and sense of well-being. We will do this by working to remove the mental health crisis from our streets, changing the way that we respond to our residents' mental health needs. We recognize that the mental health crisis is great, and we cannot fix this problem without help from our provincial and federal partners. We are committed to doing our part in supporting the mental health and well-being of our residents, but we need help. And we will continue advocating for funding until we see real change in our communities.
From 2018 to 2019, we have seen an increase of 4.1% in the total number of incidents in Aylmer, Elgin, and St. Thomas. Although residents feel that there is not a lot of serious crime in this area, they report experiencing and hearing about break-ins, petty theft, property theft, drug use, and drug trafficking. Our fourth priority area, public safety, will focus on building communities where people feel safe. The Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan marks the shift in focus from a reactive response-based approach to incidents to a more proactive, holistic approach to community safety. This shift in focus will result in reduced pressure on first responders.
Police services in St. Thomas, Elgin, and Aylmer are committed to working together with our community partners to address situations where there's an elevated risk of harm. To support individuals experiencing mental health crisis in our community, we are currently collaborating with the Canadian Mental Health Association. Our response teams in the field provide an integrated, community-based approach to individuals with the goal of reducing the amount of time police officers spend on these types of calls that can be better handled by trained mental health specialists. We need to divert individuals experiencing a mental health crisis away from the criminal justice system and emergency rooms. Thank you.
We recognize that the complex risks in safety and well-being cannot be addressed in isolation by any one organization, agency, or sector. And police services in Aylmer, Elgin County, and St. Thomas are committed to working together with our community partners to support public safety and well-being. Representatives from the police services, along with representatives from the community, will sit on the newly formed Public Safety Action Table. The Action Table will work together to develop and implement strategies to increase traffic safety, enhance people's wellness and the sense of well-being, and encourage youth to actively participate in building a healthier community and cultivate partnerships to create resilience and safe communities.
Our fifth and final priority area focuses on substance use and addiction. Between 2013 and 2018, the number of emergency department visits with opiate overdoses has increased, and this continues into 2021. In our conversations with residents, we learned that substance use and addictions are very prevalent and increasing in St. Thomas, specifically in the core of the city. There's a lack of services, supports, and resources in this area. While alcohol is still the biggest challenge, there's a growing overdose and opioid crisis in our communities. As part of the Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan, the Elgin Community Drug and Alcohol Steering Committee will focus on promoting safe and healthy communities in Elgin without the negative impacts of drugs and alcohol. The steering committee is currently developing a strategy to support this vision, and the final strategy will focus on prevention, harm reduction, treatment, and justice. To support this strategy, we're committed to working with our community partners to find new ways to serve the needs of the community.
This plan will define community safety and well-being planning in Aylmer, Elgin, and St. Thomas over the coming years, but it is not a final destination. Community safety and well-being issues will continue to evolve, and we are committed to ongoing engagement and dialogue to ensure that the plan remains informed, relevant, and reflective of evolving needs. We gratefully acknowledge the efforts of all individuals, local agencies, and service providers involved in the development of the Aylmer, Elgin, and St. Thomas Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan. We appreciate and thank you all.
Thank you, Cecil. The county kind of took the lead on this with the city of St. Thomas and the town of Aylmer to give us a community safety and well-being program. We're obligated to adopt something by July 1st, so we're a bit under the gun to approve this. But certainly it's pretty hard to argue with any of the comments that come up before by any of the people on the YouTube. But questions or comments, either for staff or Dominique and I, we've already been through this at the county level and we've adopted this, but certainly questions from our local council was certainly appropriate.
I don't have a question, you, Mr. Mayor, but I just think that it's a good idea because the way things are going anymore with everybody and anything, and especially our youth, we have to be proactive. We can't be reactive all the time. So I think it's a good idea. It's a good initiative, and I'm all for it.
Okay, good to hear. Any other questions or comments? Mover and seconder that the county of Elgin. Oh,
Sorry, it's Dominique. I just wanted to add the comment that I really appreciate all the work that went into this plan and the extent of the consultation and time was well invested. And I think what we have now is a very clear plan. There are clear objectives, and it will make some of our decisions and our priorities that much easier and clearer. So I think this will be a great tool. And I certainly hope that as council, we will keep it handy so we are guided by the recommendations and the objectives that are set. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Dominique. Any other comments? Mover and seconder, the County of Elgin report entitled Aylmer, Elgin, St. Thomas Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan, submitted by Councilor French and Martin, date June 2nd, 2021, be received. And Malahide Township Council adopt the Elgin, St. Thomas Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan.
Oh,
Moore and Cerna, all in favor?
Councillor Widner,
Yes.
Councillor Moore,
yes.
Councillor Cerna,
Yes.
Councillor Lewis,
Yes.
Councillor Galinsky,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Giguere,
Yes.
Mayor Mennel,
Yes.
carried.
Thank you. And the audited statement that we had for the complex last week, any questions or comments? Seeing none, move second of the 2020 audited financial statement for the East Elgin Community Complex as prepared by Scrigmore and Company, Chartered Accountants, and represented by Augustine Christine Scrigmore at the East Elgin Community Complex Board of Management, June 2nd, be approved as submitted.
I'll move it.
Giguere. Seconder. Galinsky, all in favor?
Counselor Widner,
Yes.
Counselor Moore,
Yes.
Counselor Cerna,
Yes.
Counselor Lewis,
Yes.
Counselor Galinsky, Deputy Mayor Jager,
Yes.
Mayor Mennel,
Yes.
carried.
Any other business before we go to bylaws?
Mr. Mayor,
Dominic?
thank you. Just a couple of items to bring up, both related to safety, road safety. So going back to Port Bruce, so happy first off to report that the county has agreed to fix the or address the sightline issue that we had discussed at a previous meeting. I think Councillor Widner had brought it up. And so a four-way stop is being installed at the south end of the bridge. Although in and of itself is not a traffic calming measure, but we think it's going to contribute to also slowing down traffic. So residents are continuing to express some concerns around the safety of everybody, pedestrians, cyclists. And so we've been continuing to have conversations with staff. And I would like to, this evening, I would like to request of staff that they work with the county to explore possible crosswalks be installed. So not necessarily the, you know, the big flashing light, expensive version, but perhaps a, you know, more passive crosswalk, so that this solution across, particularly across the provincial park, and potentially, so looking at options around Winnacott Park to see if that could help sort of direct pedestrians and help drivers notice pedestrians. So that's my first request. I don't know if I can provide any further clarification to staff.
Well, one would be a county road and one would be a township road, right? So
Correct.
Matt, we'll put that in your lap to do some research.
Yeah, absolutely. For the county road request, the township council can pass that request on to county council and give the county staff direction on that one. And then we can receive township staff direction for the areas around Winnacott Park.
Great, thank you. My second request is related to Van Patter line. So for the past year, we've been exploring different concerns, once again around speed and safety. Residents were patient enough to wait for the safety audits. We've been looking at the results. We've looked at, I've had a close look at the data on the counts that have been done in June of 2019. So I think there's still some concerns, even though we found that the majority of drivers are not, are driving. So 85% of the drivers are driving actually 65 kilometers. So the request to lower to 60 may not accomplish anything, but I think residents have brought up a few good points in terms of the data collection, which was more on the weekend, and perhaps the traffic patterns are a little bit different during the week. So I would like to request, if possible, that we do another count for a few days on different days, and perhaps wait until, I'm assuming that soccer leagues, maybe will restart at some point, perhaps this summer. So if we can wait until there's a little bit more of a regular activity. And so that's the first part of the request. And additional data, I think that would be useful, is that just this past weekend, there was an accident on the road. And I think there's a debate as to the cause of the accident. Is it speed? What is it? So if we could obtain a copy of the report, I understand we probably need to do an FOI request on that, but I think that would be another source of data that would complement the discussion.
Matt?
Yes, we can take that as staff direction as well to look into the Van Patter line safety request. And then that's you do make a good point, Councillor or Deputy Mayor Jager, about the data collection for traffic, because right now typically we're using 2019 data because 2020 was definitely an oddball year to be collecting traffic data when everybody's at home. So now we are getting back into various reopening stages. So it'd be a good time to wait for these various activities to begin, and then yes, we can collect some more data and ensure different things that are received within that safety audit and what else might be needed in that area.
Thank you. And I think the data from 2019 was mostly on the weekend, which is useful because there was a lot of activity. But I think what residents are talking about is during the week, it's different kind of activity. So that would complement if it was on different days than what we collected in 2019. Thank you.
Absolutely.
And I know that the soccer league has been canceled for 2021. They may re-examine that in July or August for a short term, but the initial response was that they canceled for the season. Okay, any other business?
I just had one if I could.
Go ahead, Mark.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to request that we get the OPP sign put out, speed sign, put out on Maple and Line where we change the speed limit. I was out there again. I travel that road quite a bit, and some people just don't get 60. We were out there doing, well, we were going 65 kilometers on our own vehicle, and I got passed by some guy, must be doing 120, and they just don't understand it. So I think we need to get one out there, and probably some other roads too, if they have time. Thank you.
Matt, response?
Yes, again, we can take that as staff direction as well, and can get that back out, make those requests.
Thank you, Matt.
Any other business? Okay, bylaws. Moving second, our bylaw number 2150 being a bylaw to authorize the execution of a municipal road needs study with 4 Road Management Services, Inc. Be given a first, second, third reading, properly signed and sealed. Lewis and
Second.
Widner, all in favor?
Councillor Widner,
Yes.
Councillor Moore,
Yes.
Councillor Cerna,
Yes.
Councillor Lewis,
Yes.
Councillor Galinsky,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Jaguar,
Yes.
Mayor Mennel,
Yes.
carried.
Thank you. And mover and seconder bylaw number 2152 being a bylaw to authorize the execution of a site plan agreement with 2660711 Ontario Inc. J. Penner, be given a first, second, third reading, properly signed and sealed.
I'll move it.
Cerna and
I'll second.
Jaguar, all in favor?
Councillor Widner,
Yes.
Councillor Moore,
Yes.
Councillor Cerna,
Yes.
Councillor Lewis,
Yes.
Councillor Galinsky, Deputy Mayor Jaguar,
Yes.
Mayor Mennel,
Yes.
that's carried.
Thank you. Mover and seconder bylaw number 2153 being a bylaw to authorize the execution of an agreement with WT Infrastructure Solutions, Inc. for a feasibility analysis and action plan for a portable water distribution system for Springfield. Be given a first, second, third reading, properly signed and sealed.
Move it.
Lewis, seconder.
Jaguar.
Jaguar, all in favor?
Councillor Widner,
Yes.
Councillor Moore,
Yes.
Councillor Cerna,
Yes.
Councillor Lewis,
Yes.
Councillor Galinsky,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Jaguar,
Yes.
Mayor Mennel,
Yes.
it's carried.
Thank you. And finally, mover and seconder bylaw number 2154 being about to authorize the execution of an agreement with Her Majesty the Queen in the province of Ontario, representing the Ministry of Transportation for the province of Ontario for water main crossing on Talbot Line to Dollar Car Limited. Be given a first, second, third reading, properly signed and sealed.
Move it.
Lewis, seconder.
I'll
Second.
second.
Galinsky, all in favor?
Councillor Widner,
Yes.
Councillor Moore,
Yes.
Councillor Cerna,
Yes.
Councillor Lewis,
Yes.
Councillor Galinsky, Deputy Mayor Jaguar,
Yes.
Mayor Mennel,
Yes.
carried.
Thank you. Anything else before we move into closed session? Mover and seconder, council will move into closed session at 8:50 pursuant to section 239-2 of the Municipal Act as amended to discuss the following. 1, advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose and or personnel matter about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees relating to an outstanding tax account. And 2, a labor relations employee negotiation relating to Malahide Fire Service recruitment.
Move it.
Moore, seconder,
Seconded.
Galinsky, all in favor?
Counselor Whitner,
Yes.
Counselor Moore,
Yes.
Counselor Cerna,
Yes.
Counselor Lewis,
Yes.
Counselor Galinsky, Deputy Mayor Jiguer,
Yes.
Mayor Mennel,
Yes.
that's carried.
Okay. All right, now that we're in an open session, and the mover and seconder, the township staff be authorized and directed to initiate the recruitment process for a new director of fire and emergency services by advertising the position immediately. And Councilor Widner be appointed to sit with the mayor, deputy mayor, chief administrative officer, HR manager, and hopefully Jeff and Raribuck from an area municipality to form the recruitment committee for the hiring of a new director in fire emergency services.
I'll move it.
Cerna, Galinsky, all in favor?
Counselor Whitner,
Yes.
Counselor Moore,
Yes.
Counselor Cerna,
Yes.
Counselor Lewis,
Yes.
Counselor Galinsky, Deputy Mayor Jiguer,
Yes.
Mayor Mennel,
Yes,
that's carried.
thank you. And also during the closed session, the council provided directions to the municipal staff regarding the advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including the communications necessary for that purpose under a personnel matter about an identified individual, including municipal or local boards employees relating to an outstanding tax account. So we're almost at the end. Mover and seconder that bylaw number 2151 be a confirmatory bylaw, be given a first, second, third reading, properly signed and sealed. Lewis,
I'll second it.
Lerna, all in favor?
Counselor Whitner,
Yes.
Counselor Moore,
Yes.
Counselor Cerna,
Yes.
Counselor Lewis,
Yes.
Counselor Galinsky,
Oh,
Deputy Mayor Jiguer,
Yes.
Mayor Mennel,
Yes,
that's carried.
thank you. And mover and seconder, council adjourn its meeting at 9:18 to meet again on July the 8th at 7:30.
move
Linsky
it.
and Widner, all in favor?
Counselor Whitner,
Yes.
Counselor Moore,
Yes.
Counselor Cerna,
Yes.
Counselor Lewis,
Yes.
Counselor Galinsky, Deputy Mayor Jiguer,
Yes.
Mayor Mennel,
Yes.
that's carried.
Okay, thank you all for attending. Good night, folks.